Have you ever looked at a massive, complex machine and just, felt like you're nothing but a tiny bug caught in its gears?
Oh, yeah. I think a lot of people feel that way right now.
Right. Like no matter how hard you push or how loudly you shout, the system just grinds on. It completely ignores you. Or honestly, worse, it tries to step on you.
Exactly. It's that feeling of total powerlessness.
Yeah. So welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a massive stack of sources to unpack exactly that feeling. We've got Wikipedia entries, news reports from Al Jazeera, Reuters, and The Guardian, plus legal analysis from Tax Guru, and some historical pieces from The Federal.
It is a lot of ground to cover.
It is, yeah. But our mission today is to figure out how a single, off-the-cuff insult from a Supreme Court judge accidentally birthed a 20 million-strong digital rebellion basically overnight.
Yeah, we are talking about one of the most unexpected viral political phenomenons in recent memory. This movement that calls itself the Cockroach Janta Party, or the CJP.
The CJP, right. And we're going to trace the fascinating and honestly incredibly dark global history of the cockroach metaphor in politics. And look at the deep structural frustrations fueling this movement in India.
Which is crucial because this isn't happening in a vacuum.
Right. And ultimately, we want to analyze whether an internet meme can actually survive in the real world. So this deep dive is really about what happens when millions of people feeling completely discarded decide to just weaponize an insult.
And to understand how a digital swarm like this forms, we have to look at the spark.
Okay, take us to the spark. Where does this start?
So that spark was struck on May 15th, 2026. This was inside the Supreme Court of India. A two-judge bench, which was led by the Chief Justice of India, Surya Kant, was hearing a contempt petition.
Okay.
And the case itself was, well, highly procedural. It was about delays in the Delhi High Court granting senior advocate designations to lawyers.
So like a very inside baseball legal dispute, the kind of thing that usually wouldn't make the front page.
Ordinarily, no, not at all. But during the hearing, the judges brought up the aggressive online behavior of the advocate who actually filed the petition.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and this led the Chief Justice to make an oral observation. In the legal world, they call this obiter dicta, which basically means things said, by the way.
Right, so it isn't a binding legal ruling.
Exactly. It's just a judge expressing a thought or maybe some frustration from the bench. And he began criticizing individuals who use fraudulent credentials and fake degrees to practice law.
Which makes sense. Nobody wants fake lawyers.
Sure, but the wording he used cast this incredibly wide net. He compared certain unemployed youth who turned to social media or regular media or even RTI, right, to information activism just to attack the system. He compared them to cockroaches and parasites of society.
Wow. And I mean, when the Chief Justice of India, the highest judicial officer in the whole country, uses words like cockroaches and parasites, those words do not just stay confined to the courtroom.
Definitely not. The broadcast was just instantaneous across all the mainstream news networks and digital platforms, and it ignited immediate outrage among young students and job seekers everywhere.
I bet.
The pushback was so severe that literally the very next day, on May 16th, the Chief Justice issued a clarification.
What did he say?
He stated that he was misquoted by the media. He said he was strictly talking about fraudulent professionals with bogus degrees. And he explicitly went on record to call the youth the pillars of a developed India.
Pillars of a developed India. But I mean, the clarification was kind of too late, right? The algorithm had already done its work. The label stuck.
Oh, completely. It was way too late.
And this is exactly the moment where Abhijit Dip steps in.
Yes, Dipk.
Right. So from our Reuters source,
Yeah.
He's a 30-year-old digital communications strategist, and he formerly volunteered for the Aam Aadmi Party's social media team.
Yeah.
So he knows his way around online politics.
Oh, he definitely does.
And he launched the Cockroach Janta Party online that very same day, May 16th, branding it, brilliantly I might add, as the voice of the lazy and unemployed.
He essentially built a masterclass in political satire. I mean, the CJP set up highly specific, highly sarcastic eligibility criteria to even join the party.
Oh yeah, I saw these. They are hilarious.
Right. First, you must be unemployed. And they specify by force, by choice, or by principle.
By principle, that's great.
And then you must be lazy. Though they add a caveat that this refers to physical activity only. They say your brain is allowed to continue spiraling.
I feel like a lot of people can relate to that right now.
Oh, absolutely. And then you must be chronically online. which they define as at least 11 hours daily, including bathroom breaks.
Naturally.
And finally, you must have the ability to rant professionally about things that actually matter.
Okay, let's unpack this because it's like political judo. They took the massive weight of a systemic insult and they just flipped it back onto the establishment. Because they didn't just stop at a funny name, right?
No, they went much further.
They dropped a fully formed 5-point manifesto. And when you look closely at it, it is a surgical critique of Indian institutional mechanics.
It really is.
So first, they demand that no retired Chief Justice shall be granted a Rajya Sabha seat as a reward.
Which is a huge direct shot at a highly controversial practice. You see, the Rajya Sabha is India's upper house of parliament.
Right.
And when retiring judges are pointed to it by the ruling government, it immediately raises concerns about whether their past judicial decisions were actually truly independent or if they were made with an eye on a post-retirement political career.
Exactly. Then their second point, and this one is wild. If any legitimate voter is deleted from the electoral rolls, the chief election commissioner must be arrested under the UAPA.
Yeah, that is a big one.
Just to clarify, that's India's most stringent anti-terror law. They are basically taking a law criticized for being weaponized against activists and demanding it be aimed at the officials managing the democracy.
It's pure satire, but it hits hard.
It does. Third, they demand a flat 50% women's reservation in parliament and cabinet positions without increasing the overall strength of the House.
Right, forcing actual parity.
Fourth, they want to cancel the media licenses of massive conglomerates owned by billionaires like Ambani and Adani, basically to force space for independent media.
Also a major talking point for the opposition right now.
Right. And fifth, banning any defecting MLAs, state legislators, or MPs from contesting elections or holding public office for 20 years.
And that last point really highlights how weak current anti-defection laws are. I mean, politicians frequently switch parties after winning an election, which essentially renders the voters' mandate meaningless.
Yeah, it just voids the election, basically.
Exactly. The CJP manifesto uses absurdity to highlight just how broken these systemic loopholes actually are.
And it worked. I was looking at the metrics in the Reuters report, and it completely blew my mind. I mean, how fast did this grow?
It was explosive. They hit 3 million Instagram followers in 78 hours.
78 hours. That is insane.
And in under 5 days, they surpassed 10 million followers, officially overtaking the ruling Bharatiya Janata Party, the BJP, on the platform.
Just crazy numbers.
As of today, they are sitting at over 20 million followers, with over 350,000 formally registered members through their online forms.
How does a joke outpace the digital wing of the national government? It's incredible.
Well, the reason Dipk's meme caught fire isn't just because it was a clever manifesto. It's because he tapped into a word that has historically been the ultimate weapon of political dehumanization.
The word cockroach.
Right. What's fascinating here is that the cockroach has a surprisingly long and complex political history across continents and centuries.
Yeah, we have to look at the history of the word itself.
If we look at the historical analysis provided by the Federal, the insect is often used as a tool for extreme psychological conditioning. Authoritarian leaders use pest metaphors to strip their opponents of humanity.
Because if they are pests, they aren't people anymore.
Exactly. When you call a group of people pests, you frame violent repression not as persecution, but as a necessary cleanup or an extermination.
And the history of that specific language goes to the darkest places imaginable.
It really does. Nazi propaganda heavily utilized vermin and parasite metaphors against Jewish people to condition the public to accept the Holocaust.
It's horrific.
And during the 1994 Rwandan genocide, Hutu extremist groups and radio stations relentlessly referred to the Tutsi minority as inyenzi, which translates to cockroaches.
Wow.
It created this psychological atmosphere where neighbors actually felt justified in committing mass violence. And even more recently, in 2011, Libyan ruler Muammar Gaddafi referred to anti-government protesters as cockroaches and rats before launching military assaults on them.
Okay, so knowing that incredibly dark history, especially in places like Rwanda, I have to ask, is it dangerous for a youth movement to willingly adopt a label so historically tied to mass dehumanization, even as a joke? I mean, doesn't that risk reinforcing the very dehumanization they are protesting?
That is a very valid question, and it's a significant risk. But the history of the metaphor also includes powerful instances of reclaiming the word through satire and resilience.
Okay, like how?
Well, during the Mexican Revolution, the famous folk song La Cucaracha, the Cockroach, was constantly rewritten by the masses to mock the dictator Victoriano Huerta.
Oh, I didn't know that was political.
Yeah, it was highly political. And in 1966, the Egyptian playwright Tawfiq al-Hakim used the insect to symbolize ordinary citizens trapped in a maze of unresponsive bureaucracy.
That makes sense.
So for the CJP, adopting the cockroach isn't about accepting a subhuman status. It symbolizes the ultimate form of resilience.
Like surviving a nuclear bomb.
Exactly. It's the biological ability to survive nuclear fallout, or in this case, a rotten system. Abhijit Dipke actually summarized this perfectly when he said, "Cockroaches breed in rotten places. That's what India is today."
Wow. And a meme only goes that viral that quickly if it hits a raw nerve, right? If it validates a reality millions of people are experiencing. So we need to look at why India's youth are feeling like they are living in a, quote, rotten place.
Yes, the socioeconomic reality of the audience is key here.
And just a quick note for you listening, before we get into these structural critiques from Al Jazeera and Tax Guru, we are unpacking a lot of politically charged data here. And we just want to explicitly state that we are neutrally reporting these sociopolitical critiques and the responses to them.
Absolutely.
We take no sides regarding the Indian government, the opposition, or the policies mentioned. We are simply unpacking the contents of the provided sources.
Completely neutral. We are just looking at the data.
Right. So looking at the sources, the irony of that inevitable courtroom insult is pretty staggering.
It really is. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we see a boiler of structural frustration that has been building for a decade. This isn't just about a judge's remark. It's about a phenomenon called credentialed unemployment.
Credentialed unemployment. What does that mean exactly?
Well, we aren't talking about unskilled labor struggling to find a place in a modern economy. We are talking about youth who did everything society asked of them.
They played by the rules.
Exactly. They studied, took highly competitive exams, incurred debt to get degrees, and are now just sitting at home. The data shows that graduate youth unemployment in India currently ranges between 23% and 45%, depending heavily on the state.
45%. That is almost half of graduates in some places.
Yeah, and the frustration is especially acute within the legal profession itself, which is where this whole saga started.
Oh, right, because it was a court case.
The juxtaposition is glaring. You have young advocates entering the system earning under 10,000 rupees a month, which is barely enough to cover basic transportation in a major city.
It's terrible.
Many are forced to work entirely for free in the chambers of senior lawyers just to get experience. They face terrible working conditions and a severe lack of POSH prevention of sexual harassment protections.
So they are incredibly vulnerable.
Very much so. And these young lawyers are operating within a judicial system that currently has a staggering 54 million pending court cases.
Wait, 54 million pending cases?
Yes. Over 180,000 of those cases have been pending for more than 30 years.
That is just incomprehensible. Here's where it gets really interesting, though. The Chief Justice's remarks criticized young lawyers and activists as unproductive pests.
Right.
But the sources point out a massive historical irony. It was an association of young lawyers who actually brought forward monumental constitutional challenges, like the Sabarimala Temple entry case.
Yes, that's a great example.
They were fighting for women's religious rights when established, older legal veterans wouldn't even touch the issue.
And that context is so crucial because it changes how we view obiter dicta in the modern era. Legally, those oral observations from a judge don't set binding precedent. But morally and socially, in the algorithmic age, they carry massive, massive weight. When powerful figures make casual analogies, those sound bites are stripped of their nuanced courtroom context. They get clipped into 15-second videos and weaponized across the internet.
It's like dropping a lit match into a dry forest of credentials without jobs. The youth were sold this demographic dividend dream, but they were just handed a waiting list.
That's a perfect analogy, and the criticism of RTI, or right to information activism, in that original court hearing is another perfect example of this disconnect.
Let's talk about the RTI. Why were they doing RTI activism?
Well, the Right to Information Act is a fundamental constitutional right. It's a democratic mechanism used by these exact unemployed youth to expose government corruption, mismanagement, and specifically exam paper leaks.
Oh, the exam leaks.
Right. It isn't a pest activity. It is constitutional accountability. In fact, the immediate trigger for the CJP's transition from an online joke to organizing physical protests, which is happening today, June 6, 2026, is the massive controversy surrounding the NEET medical exam.
Tell me about the NEET exam.
So that is a fiercely competitive national exam that millions of students take to get into medical school. And recent widespread paper leaks have basically destroyed the futures of countless applicants.
So people are studying for years and someone just buys the paper leak.
Exactly. So the CJP is demanding the education minister's resignation over it.
Okay, so we have millions of angry, chronically online youth armed with facts about structural failures. But, I mean, translating digital anger into actual physical power is a completely different game.
It really is.
How is the political establishment reacting to a meme page dictating protest demands? And can a movement born on Instagram actually survive offline?
Well, the establishment's reaction is a fascinating mix of strategic embrace and administrative panic.
How so?
On one side of the aisle, opposition leaders see an opportunity. Figures from the Trinamool Congress, the Samajwadi Party, and Congress leaders like Shashi Tharoor have openly praised the CJP.
Really? They're backing a cockroach party.
Yeah, Tharoor actually called it a revelation of youth frustration. He clearly sees it as a way to mobilize anti-incumbency sentiment against the ruling party.
Okay, what about the other side?
On the other side, ruling BJP ministers have gone on the offensive. They allege the movement is an artificial psychological operation backed by Pakistan, or foreign bots funded by international billionaires like George Soros.
Oh, wow, they went straight to foreign interference.
Yeah, a union minister, Sukanta Majumdar, publicly claimed that 49% of the CJP's followers were based in Pakistan.
Was that true?
Well, Dipki pushed back hard against that narrative using platform analytics. He released the back-end data of the Instagram account showing that 94% of the CJP's audience is based domestically in India.
So it is a homegrown thing.
Exactly. But the state's pushback hasn't just been rhetorical. They are actively utilizing administrative tools to suppress the reach.
Like censorship.
Yes. The government ordered the CJP's account on X to be withheld, citing national security concerns under Section 69A of the IT Act.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, it's a powerful provision that allows the government to block internet content without public explanation. And it didn't stop there. The CJP's website was temporarily taken down, Dib claimed his personal Instagram was hacked, and he has publicly shared screenshots of death threats.
That is terrifying.
And the legal system was also mobilized against them. Petitions were filed in the Supreme Court and the Allahabad High Court seeking probes by the NIA and ED. Those are India's anti-terror and financial crime agencies.
Wait, they wanted anti-terror probes into a meme page.
Yes. Now, those petitions were ultimately dismissed, but the message was clear.
Right. I mean, the state is throwing the institutional kitchen sink at a meme page, which tells you they view it as a legitimate threat.
Yes, but let's look at the critical view.
Right.
Our News 9 Live source brings up a fascinating concept to counter the hype. It's called the arithmetic of dissent.
The arithmetic of dissent. Okay. What is that?
They argue that a 20 million follower count is fundamentally just an applause figure, not a political cadre.
Ah, I see where this is going.
It is the most vital distinction in modern politics. Algorithms on platforms like Instagram or X are engineered to reward outrage, absurdity, and irony.
Right.
They are not engineered to facilitate community organization. A feed optimized for engagement cannot produce the logistical framework needed for a physical march or a sustained political campaign.
Because hitting like takes zero effort.
Exactly. The critics argue that meme-based loyalty doesn't transfer to a real constituency. Today, June 6, the CJP is holding a physical protest at Jantar Mantar in Delhi, and the critics argue that the actual turnout will be a microscopic rounding error compared to their massive digital following.
Which makes sense, because clicking like is frictionless. But showing up in the heat, facing potential police action, taking time off from trying to find a job that takes actual political organization.
It really does. And there's also the argument that the CJP might actually harm the real political opposition.
Wait, harm the opposition? How?
By soaking up the finite attention and energy of anti-establishment voters. They fragment the anger into an aesthetic without offering a real electable alternative on a ballot.
Yeah, I want to push back on the long-term viability of the CJP by looking at our Wikipedia source regarding the original Janta party from 1977.
Okay, let's look at that.
So the original Janta Party successfully united completely disparate groups, socialists, conservatives, labor unions, for one single purpose: to defeat Prime Minister Indira Gandhi after the emergency period.
Right, they had a common enemy.
But they completely splintered and collapsed by 1979. They had no cohesive ideology. So is the Cockroach Janta Party doomed to exactly the same fate?
I think that historical parallel exposes the fatal flaw of the CJP, because the original Janata Party actually had veteran politicians, established labor unions, and a massive network of grassroots organizers.
Right.
And they still collapsed under the weight of their own ideological contradictions once they actually had to govern.
So the CJP doesn't even have that structure to begin with.
Exactly. The Cockroach Janta Party doesn't have that foundation. They have a shared mood of anti-incumbency and a shared aesthetic of absurdist humor. Satire without a structure is just a mood, it is not a movement.
Wow.
If they cannot convert a digital audience into a physical cadre with a unified vision for governance, they will inevitably fracture the moment they are required to make real political compromises.
So what does this all mean? We have traced the Cockroach Janta Party from a single frustrated insult in a courtroom to a 20 million strong satirical rebellion, one that actually eclipsed the ruling party's social media presence.
We really covered the whole journey.
We did. We've examined the deep structural realities of credentialed unemployment and an overwhelmed legal system that made the youth feel like they were living in a rotten place.
And we unpacked the heavy historical weight of the cockroach metaphor, how it has been used to justify genocide, but also reclaimed as a badge of defiant survival.
Right. And we face the harsh reality of the arithmetic of dissent, where digital applause rarely equals sustainable political power.
It serves as a profound case study in the mechanics of modern dissent. It shows us exactly how fast anger can scale when it finds the right vessel.
And it really makes you reflect on your own digital life. I want you to think about how incredibly easy it is for you to click follow on a protest page or share a biting satirical political meme with your friends.
It feels like action.
It does feel like action, but then compare that frictionless click to how hard it actually is to step out of your front door, walk into the street, and organize your community around a tangible goal. The massive gap between those two actions is where true political power actually lives and dies.
This raises an important question, one that looks far beyond just the Cockroach Janta Party.
Let's hear it.
If a massive democratic youth movement relies entirely on the algorithms of private foreign tech platforms to exist, to organize, and to communicate, can it ever truly threaten the establishment?
Well, that's a great point.
Or is digital dissent ultimately at the mercy of Silicon Valley's terms of service, rather than the will of the people?
Are we organizing the swarm, or are we just buzzing inside a digital jar? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the system, keep exploring, and we'll catch you next time.